So first, I want to thank everybody who stopped by the channel recently, and especially those who have commented, liked, and subscribed. I do really appreciate it. It feels nice to actually know that I'm doing this for somebody and they enjoy it. That being said, this is not a Mortal Kombat channel. This is definitely a DSP channel, and this should be the last time that I talk about Mortal Kombat. He's finally quit it, so we can get off of this subject and we can talk about something else in the next video. But I did make a video before he played it and his reaction to that, and then when he was playing it and how he dealt with that and people asking him to play online. So I did want to give it a little capstone on the end after he's finally given up on it, and I want to talk about his reasoning behind quitting. Some of this is going to be rehashes of things that have already been said on his end and my end. So anything that is repeated, I'll try not to dwell on too much or go too in depth on, for both your sake and mine. But I'll shut up now and we can get into the video.
So here's the deal, everyone. As you know, Mortal Kombat 1 released just over a week ago if you bought the early version by paying a whopping extra $40, okay? I did that because I wanted to get it early to get through the single-player content. Why did I want to do that? Because the single-player content was required to play through to unlock all the content for multiplayer, including a locked character and all these locked assists called cameos in the game. If I didn't have all of that available, then realistically, I wouldn't have even been able to mess around as much as I did with the online play because I wouldn't understand it. I wouldn't have all this stuff, you know, able to be played.
I'm only going to say it once in this video. He did not need to unlock every single character in order to play online, especially because he didn't even wind up using all of those cameos. He went through and made everyone suffer through those streams that they did not want to watch because they wanted to see him play online, and then he didn't even use all of the unlocks that he got from it. This is why I said he should have just played online intermittently with playing the single player if he actually did want to play the single player. Because I could tell before he even bought the game that he clearly didn't like it and wasn't going to play it very long, so he wasn't going to use all of the unlockables anyway. And he says the line he wouldn't understand it if he didn't unlock everything or play the single player, but that's just not true either. He got no understanding out of playing the single player. He was still dog shit at the game when he played it online, and he still didn't understand any of the characters despite having played them in the single player.
And the truth is, I'm glad I did that because immediately I played with Havoc and learned a little bit about him. And then yesterday when I was playing online, I fought a Havoc and I kind of knew what his moveset was because I had faced him before, okay? So his audience sat through 2 or maybe 3 streams of single-player content that they didn't want to see so that he could fight one Havoc online and maybe know the moves a little bit. Oh, and how could I forget that he played with Havoc for 45 minutes one night on a late stream after he played Invasion because people were begging him to get online. Yeah, team, that was well worth the 3 streams that you sat through that, again, you didn't want to see. I knew that that was required. Now, why is that required in Mortal Kombat 1? That's a good question. No other fighting games really hide content behind single-player content anymore. They all basically say it's all available. You boot the game, you can play with every character, it's all there. Now, there are games that will have, you know, other ways to unlock optional content that doesn't affect anything, like cosmetics, you know. Oh, if you want to play through the single-player mode or in the credits, then you can buy an alternate outfit or alternate color scheme or something like that. That's very similar to what Street Fighter 6 does.
Yeah, but that's because Street Fighter 6 doesn't actually have a campaign. The characters don't actually have any character traits aside from their one-note personalities that is just the character. Like Zangief is a wrestler, and that's it. Mortal Kombat is actually the first fighter I think of when I think of a fighting game that has a story mode, that has real characters in it, that has actual dialogue, that has story points, character progression. I know Tekken 7 has a story mode. I played it, I beat it, and I enjoyed it, but it's not exactly the first thought that came to my mind when I think of, again, a fighting game that has a story mode. I think of NetherRealm games, I think of Injustice, and I think of Mortal Kombat. So I'm not surprised that they wanted to incentivize people to play the campaign that they took the time to write and design and voice act for and all of that. I'm not going to sit here and shit on Street Fighter 6 because I don't play it and I don't personally like it, but in all reality, I've watched DSP play Street Fighter 6 quite a bit, and the World Tour mode, the single-player component of that game, looks generic. It looks like one of those video games that you would see in a movie, like background characters playing. That's genuinely what it looks like, and it just happens to have Street Fighter characters in it, I guess?
But at least when you buy Street Fighter 6, everything's there. Play online as much as you want. It's all available at launch, right? Mortal Kombat 1 didn't do that. They used an outdated formula.
I mean, it's a personal preference, so it's not really an outdated formula.
And so I knew if I got the game early, I'd be able to get through the story, which was reportedly around 6 to 8 hours long, and I'd be able to get through Invasion mode, which I was told you had to play anywhere from 3 to 5 hours to unlock all this stuff, and then go online and be able to play the game at any kind of a sufficient capacity, okay?
Which he did not do. He did not play at a sufficient capacity whatsoever.
So I did. I paid the extra $40+ last week, And over the course of last weekend, it was about 6.5 hours to beat the campaigns, or the story. It took about 3 streams. And then we jumped into the invasion mode, which is the single-player mode of the game, which is fine. You're going across these maps that almost look like a board game. You're doing mini fights with different challenges and special situations and criteria. Very similar to how they used to have the challenge towers with things like, oh, fireballs are raining down, you get randomly frozen. Very similar to that. Good thing is you can switch characters between the matches, so you can learn various different characters. You can level up characters and unlock things for them, like customizables and other color palettes, as well as their movesets and things. Like, you'll be able to know more of their brutalities and stuff by playing with them in this mode. And overall, I think Invasion is a fine, single-player offline style mode for a game like Mortal Kombat 1.
For once, I'm going to actually have to agree with DSP here. From what I've seen, I haven't played the game, but from what I've seen, the invasion mode did look like something that I would enjoy in my Mortal Kombat fighting game. Those weird challenge fights where things are raining down from the sky, or in MK9, there was a narcoleptic effect that could happen or whatever in these weird challenge fights. Like, I thought that was fun. It was fun to try and challenge yourself and learn how to deal with the different things that the game threw at you. So that game mode did look kind of fun to me.
But it doesn't resonate with my audience, all right? After having played through the story, everyone was just clamoring for multiplayer. And I'm like, well, we don't have the content unlocked yet. Until the content is unlocked, there's no point in playing multiplayer. I don't have the assists and everything. But everyone didn't care. I'm just being honest. People want what they want. And they started screaming, we want multiplayer, we want multiplayer, we want multiplayer.
The way he makes his chat sound like a bunch of entitled children is really off-putting. They were expressing to the content creator what kind of content that they would enjoy to see and would probably even support DSP. If they have feedback, you should probably take that into consideration. We talked about that in the last video. But to me, him making them sound like entitled children is a window into how he actually sees them.
So even the nights that I was doing invasion mode, which I didn't have everything unlocked, I would still kind of pair that and do a little bit of multiplayer. First, I did about 45 minutes with Havoc, and then I did about an hour and a half with Raiden, okay? So I did get about two hours of ranked multiplayer in, and my initial impressions, I'll be honest, were not very good. What I noticed is that the connections, and this is the final version of the game, by the way, which I should emphasize, because some people were very critical of my opinions on the beta that came out in August. They were like, oh, well, how dare you be so critical? This is just the beta. It's not the final product. And I was like, all right, but you understand this beta came out only a month before the real game. What makes you think the final product's going to be so much better? Well, the final product is out, and it's not any better.
He is so salty that people told him to wait until the game fully came out to start judging the connection qualities. But no matter what the quality of the connections actually is, he would complain anyway. Because no matter how good the Street Fighter 6 connections are, he still complains. Having too high ping is obviously bad because you can't react and it drops your inputs and this, that, and the other, right? But he's the only guy I've ever seen say that too low of a ping is also a bad thing, claiming that it puts you on the wrong side of rollback netcode or something. I've never heard anybody claim this in my life. But of course, it's just an excuse for DSP to use fragrantly whenever he wants, whenever he's doing bad. That's why anytime he even brings up the connection, I just assume it's him being an old man and fumbling his buttons up and not actually getting the move out.
Essentially, the online connections I get in Mortal Kombat 1, ranked play, are twice as laggy as Street Fighter 6. When I play Street Fighter 6, I average anywhere between like 15 to maybe 60 milliseconds. Yes, definitely there's matches that are like 80 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds or more, but those are more of the rarity. And when you have those matches, you have the option to say, oh, I want to quit out. I don't want to continue to play because it's too laggy.
But you still use it as a constant excuse. So on one hand, you're going to hold Street Fighter 6 up on a pedestal and say that its connections are so much better than MK1's. But at the same time, in the other hand, you're going to constantly shit on Street Fighter 6 every time you play it, talking about how bad the connections are and how it's constantly dropping your inputs and how rollback netcode is terrible, this, that, and the other. That's one of the things that pisses me off about this guy is he's always doing doublespeak. He's always saying one thing and then immediately contradicting it in a different conversation. Street Fighter 6 connections are terrible until it's convenient for him to say that they're better.
In Mortal Kombat 1, so far, the absolute best connection I got, I want to say, was roughly around 50 milliseconds. That's more than double the latency of the matches I get in Street Fighter 6. On average, the matches are 80 to 100. So they're already delayed, all right? That's bad netcode. In addition, every time I've played this, the game has crashed during a ranked set, making all the matches I played in that set completely worthless because the game won't count them then.
That's obviously bad and does suck, so there's no defending that. NetherRealm should do better. There's a whole host of connectivity issues in that game, and they need to be taken care of. I'm actually going through the same thing right now with Payday 3. I wanted Payday 3 to be a good game, but the connection issues are so bad, you literally cannot play the game. Just a little personal note.
And this happens randomly all the time. It's not like, oh, it was an infrequent occurrence. Every single time I play the game online, 3 sessions now, it's happened multiple times. So obviously, there's something going on. Their netcode is nowhere near as good as the netcode used in Street Fighter 6. That's just my initial observation on the game. Okay? So, now that we have gotten through all of this single player content and at least unlocked the things that are required to be unlocked before you go online.
I know I said I wouldn't say it again, but god damn it, they are not required to go online. Stop lying. You're dumb. You're dumb and stupid and dumb. Sorry about that.
I did a full session of Mortal Kombat 1 multiplayer yesterday. What I told you guys I would do is exactly what I would do with every single fighting game. I would take a character and go quickly into training mode, try to learn some basic strategies and combos and special moves, go into their trials, try to learn a little bit there, and then go right online. And that's what I did. I picked Sindel and learned basic combos. I actually learned 1 or 2 strategies using her trial, so I'm glad I did it. And then we went online.
Yeah, and how'd that go for you, Dave? Because knowing how this ends, I'm pretty sure it didn't go well for you.
And basically the first match out, now keep in mind I had played 40 minutes or so with Havoc and an hour and a half with Raiden, so maybe 2 hours of ranked online play. So I think I had ranked out of rookie status into like newbie status. So you're not just like first time playing, so your second time playing, that's where I am ranked in this game. First match out of the gates yesterday is a Baraka player that literally hits me once and gets a 60% damage combo.
Okay, so I found the match that he was talking about, and I'm going to show it to you because he's being untruthful. He's lying, if you could believe it. So I'm going to play the clip for you, and then I'm going to stop it after the first combo. I'm going to show you what his health bar looks like, because it's not down 60%. Fight. So because Phil's stupid camera is blocking where it was actually telling you the percentage of the combo, we're going to take a look at his health bar here. And as you can see, there's 10 sections to this health bar. And he's down just into the 4th section there. So about a 40% combo. But he said 60. A 40% and a 60% combo are drastically different. Where'd the extra 20% come from?
Wow. By the way, the Baraka player has a string of hits backed up by a cameo, so now I can't even do anything but block. If I try to hit him, I get interrupted and he gets the same combo. Huh?
And that's where the extra 20% damage came from. DSP stood up, chose to block, ate a bunch of chip damage, failed to block correctly, and fell victim to the latter half of a second combo.
In addition, the game isn't good online, it's laggy. So it's not even like I can really react to what he's doing. Essentially, the guy is just spamming the same nonsense over and over. And I'm like, wow, this is my first actual real attempt at online ranked, and this is what the game is giving me.
So it was really 2 separate, very long and intricate combos. Whether or not he could do anything about it, I genuinely don't know. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I haven't played the game. I don't know the specifics. But it's not entirely truthful when he says one combo did 60% damage. That's not what happened. There was 2 separate combos. And there's the potential that he didn't have to eat that second combo.
I'm a noob. It's literally my first match ever with Sindel. And I'm facing someone who, if they touch me once, gets a 60% damage combo.
Yeah, because the game knows that the first 2 times that you play ranked weren't actual attempts.
And then can continuously just do it over and over because you can't interrupt it because of the way they built this game. Okay? So that was my first experience literally out of the gates. And you might say, well, I don't get it. If it's your first match with Sindel, why are they pairing you against someone who knows how to play like that? Well, there's a very good reason, because their ranking system sucks. With Street Fighter 6, Capcom did something that made so much sense that I almost guarantee you, moving forward, every major fighting game will cover it, or copy it, I should say.
Yo, he couldn't suck off Street Fighter 6 any harder.
In Street Fighter 6, when you select a character, let's say Ryu, and you go online, you start at 0, at the bottom, you're playing newbies. You do a rank up system where you play 10 matches to place you where you should be in the ranks. If you play poorly, you'll go at the bottom, so you'll be able to play slowly and go up the ranks and get better with the character. If you play really well, and you're doing crazy combos, and you're getting big wins, then you're probably going to place much higher, and you'll be able to play immediately against better players in higher ranks.
He really just described a bog standard rank system. What a waste of time that was.
Seems to make sense. The other cool thing about Street Fighter 6 is that each character has their own individual ranking. What Capcom did is they used some brain power and said, gee, just because someone's good with Ryu probably doesn't mean they're good with Zangief. They're completely different styles of character. So just because you're good with one doesn't mean you should immediately jump into high-level ranked play with another if you try to switch characters and use a different one.
Yeah, that's why casual matches exist. If you're not confident in your skill level with a character and you're looking to get better without having to take a hit to your rank, just play casuals till you're confident with your character. If you have a decent rank because you're a decent player, it shouldn't take you that long to grasp the new concepts that come with a different character. A system like this sounds more counterproductive to people that would like to switch characters frequently. Because with the Street Fighter 6 system, you have to grind out every single character to get to whatever rank you want to get to. Which is super convenient for DSP because then he doesn't actually actually have to play any master ranked fighters and not get absolutely dunked on. But with the way that Mortal Kombat did it, and I'm not saying that that match was fair to DSP, he definitely got shit on. But with the way that Mortal Kombat did it, you could go from using one character right into using a different character whenever you wanted, and it would still affect your rank all the same whether you won or you lost, because you're still the same player. Like I said, if you're not confident with your skill level because you're using a different fighter for once, you should just play casuals until you're confident.
Right? Genius. It just makes perfect sense, the system that they use. Now listen, it's not perfect, and I've had a lot of problems with the ranking system. There's been times when I win 5 out of 10 matches and they place me low, and other times I win 5 out of 10 matches and they place me high. It's not perfect, but at least it's something. And the real thing that excels here is the separation of the ranks per character. Who the hell wants to play a fighting game with one character, get good, then try to learn a new character you don't know how to use yet and get trounced because they have you way up here in the ranks? It doesn't make any sense at all. It's bullshit.
Again, this is why casuals exist.
What it is, it's very outdated, it's nonsensical, and people have done better now with Street Fighter 6. That Capcom said, this is better.
And it's that last little bit there that matters, huh? Capcom said it's better, so therefore it is. But that's just straight up not how these things work. I don't really give a shit what Capcom thinks. I'm gonna pull a little DSP here and give you an analogy. But it's not gonna be about food, it's actually gonna be comparing it to another game. So it'll be more relevant, I promise. I've never played fighting games ranked, but I have played ranked shooters. I would be so upset if every time I switched guns or I switched, in hero shooters, you switch heroes, if I had to rank up all the way again. And you might be thinking that switching your character in a fighting game is a bigger difference than changing weapons in a shooter or changing your hero in a shooter. And that can be true, but it could also not be true. Some of those hero shooters and those heroes are very different, and you have to change your entire playstyle. And it's obviously true that not all weapons work the same in a shooter, that you have to adjust your playstyle to compensate for whatever weapon you're using. And just how I feel with a fighter and their ranking system is how I feel about a first-person shooter and its ranking system. If you're not confident with the new weapon, with the new character you're using, whatever it may be, if you're not confident, then you should not be playing ranked in that setting. You should be playing casual till you're confident enough to play ranked. But DSP would never agree to this because for some reason he's just scared of casuals.
Mortal Kombat 1 completely ignored its contemporaries. That's the best way I can really describe it. It's a game that felt like it was being developed in a bubble. It paid no attention whatsoever to what Street Fighter 6 was doing, and instead just said, well, what should we do? Well, each time that we made a Mortal Kombat in the trilogy that we just put out, 9 through 11, we incrementally increased one thing or made one thing different or better. You know, in the original Mortal Kombat 9, it was a reboot of the series, so you had the classic characters come back, and there was this ground bounce mechanic where you could do a neutral punch, and it would create a juggle in the corner or whatever for big combo ability. Then Mortal Kombat 10, they got rid of the bounce, and they added in some other new elements to make it better. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, because I remember it was something completely different and people liked it. Then Mortal Kombat 11, they went in a different direction and said, we want to make Mortal Kombat more like Street Fighter. So we're going to take away the whole block button mechanic that everyone hated. We're going to make it so that now you can do wake-up moves and reversals, essentially adding in elements that were present in other fighting games and were never present in Mortal Kombat. Okay, great. So what are you doing for Mortal Kombat 12? Well, we're just going to forget half the things we did for Mortal Kombat 11. We're just going to scale the game back to play just like Mortal Kombat 10, but we're going to add in assist characters called cameos.
Okay, if you take out all of the nonsense fluff that he used and just look at the last part, what it sounds like is that they weren't exactly happy with the way Mortal Kombat 11 turned out. They were more happy with MKX, and that they're going to take that and they want to make a cameo fighter, so that's what they're going to do. I can't recall them ever making a cameo fighter. It might actually be refreshing to players to play a cameo fighter after all of this time of not having one. And it's very strange to me that DSP, who was a huge Marvel vs. Capcom 2 fan back in the day, is so against cameo fighters. For whatever reason, when he talks about cameo fighters, he makes it sound like he hates them. But before he played Super Turbo, he played Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That was his game of choice. So where did this hatred for cameo fighters come from? I mean, he was so into it that he was on Alphaism Radio debating with people which teams were objectively the best in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like, he had that shit down to a science, apparently. I just don't know when this switch up happened.
Oh. Well, what else are you doing? Oh, nothing. 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 No, nothing. It's the same now. It's the same as Mortal Kombat 10 with assists. Oh. So you're charging everyone $70 to go backwards.
I don't know where DSP gets off thinking that he's the arbiter of what is forward progression and regression. I mean, aside from the personal attack that he's in a constant form of regression due to his inability to have any sort of self-reflection, people prefer different things in different games. A lot of people actually really liked MKX. I'm not that guy. But a lot of people I know preferred MKX over MK11. Again, I'm not that guy. So I'm sure for those same people that enjoyed MKX over MK11, if the game is just MKX but now it's got cameo fighters, that's a good enough enough product for them. It's more of the game they like, with better graphics, a new story, a new single player campaign, and new DLC support. Those people are probably very happy with their purchase. But DSP, that didn't interest you, and you still spent $120 to get the extra exclusive ultimate rare edition or whatever. If you weren't happy with the direction that the studio was taking the game, you had every opportunity not to buy it, and you had every opportunity to not buy the most expensive version of the game too.
And then add in one new thing that's not new. Assist characters have been in fighting games since the 1990s. They were introduced in the Versus series of games. The first game that ever had them was Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. I know because I fucking played it in arcades. I know the day they came out, and I know how people were like, oh, they're kind of whack. They're not really very useful. Because back then they weren't. They weren't actually very useful until Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and then in 2 they became godlike.
Just a small pet peeve of mine when people say like, oh, I know the day it came out. Then what was the day? Go ahead, smartass. If you know the exact day it came out because you were there and you played it, this, that, and the other, what was the day? Because you noticed he wouldn't say it. He'd definitely have to look it up. It's one thing to say that you know the exact day, in casual conversation. But when you're being hostile and you're being a smartass and you're being snarky about it, go ahead. What was the exact day, Phil?
So I was there the entire time when this thing was introduced. The King of Fighters had them. I know all about the history of it. It's not something new. It's 25 years outdated. It's not a new idea, but Mortal Kombat 1 acts like it is a new idea for some odd reason, like we've never seen this before.
When did NetherRealm Studios ever come out and say that cameo fighters didn't exist before MK1 came out? Because I never saw it advertised like that. I mean, yeah, they probably advertised it as a new addition to the series and that it was going to amplify the gameplay or some weird shit like that. But never once did I see them advertise that they had invented this new concept of a cameo fighter.
So that's it. That's the gameplay of Mortal Kombat 1. It's Mortal Kombat 10 with assists. They took back the changes, scaled back the things that were added for Mortal Kombat 11. And essentially what happens is the game becomes incredibly slow. It feels like you're playing in molasses. Every character is just really not reacting to much because everything has this big slow ass animation to come out. The fastest move in the game is low jab.
How is he going to sit here and say every character moves slow as molasses? You guys saw the clip earlier where he lost 40% of his health in like 10 seconds. I think the timer literally said 80 seconds on it still, and there's only 90 seconds in a round. Even just watching that clip, it's breakneck speed. That guy's throwing out move after move after move. And why would he want the game to move faster? If the connections are so bad, you're not going to have time to react anyway, DSP. So either the game is too slow where they speed it up and then all of a sudden you can't react online, so the game is trash. There's no winning here. You just want to complain because you'd rather be playing Street Fighter 6.
And that's what everyone does. They do safe combo, low jab, safe combo, low jab over and over. That's the play of Mortal Kombat 1 until someone finally catches you with a mix-up. Because what they'll try to do is hit you high or hit you low, and then, or do an overhead. So if you're blocking low, oops, now it goes through your block. And that immediately leads to a 50 or more % damage combo because the cameos extend the length of combos now. And basically your match is shot because you just lost more than half your life. How are you going to come back from that life detriment? That's literally the whole game.
If you know the pattern so well, how did you get dominated so effortlessly? On paper, DSP is apparently the best fighting game player that's ever existed, but in practice, he's a scrub that gets dominated by any random online. That just doesn't add up. He's basically the best armchair fighting game player that's ever existed.
So, while Street Fighter 6, better netcode, better ranking system, added in a ton of new gameplay mechanics to make it fast-paced, interesting, much more advanced than any Street Fighter before it. Literally, Street Fighter 6 has more gameplay elements in it than any Street Fighter game seen, and actually has way more gameplay elements than most fighting games. I would say maybe it's the ArcSys games have more. Like Guilty Gear and BlazBlue have always been very complex with 5 zillion gameplay mechanics. But
And as someone who enjoys fighting games very casually, I'll never play any of those games, including Street Fighter. You're introducing too many mechanics to what should be as simple as two dudes fighting. I don't want my fighters to have a million different meters or whatever. A bunch of different moves with a bunch of different variations that pertain to where the meter's at. I don't want anything like that. It should be about basic movement. It should be about pressing the combos better than you. It should be about reading your moves and being prepared for them. I don't want to sit here and worry about drive rush level 3s or meter burn or anything like that. But again, it's personal preference. But for him to sit here and shit on Mortal Kombat 1 for being a simpler fighter, like that's kind of a game designed for other people then.
It's pretty darn complex. If you play Street Fighter 6 at a high level, you need a lot of knowledge and a lot of practice. Mortal Kombat 1 essentially is, you got a character, you'll learn 1 or 2 ginormous combos, right? Which are easy to do. They're not hard to do. They're pretty basic. Everything in this game is dial a combo. It's this button, this button, this button, then do a juggle, this button, oh, pull out your cameo, this button, this button, this button, finisher. Wow. Wow, you press 10 buttons in succession, and you got like 60% damage. You're just amazing. And every character has this, okay?
He's gonna sit here and act like it's so easy, but he never did any of that when he played online. I mean, dude was literally doing like a 3-hit combo maximum. I mean, if it's so easy that any idiot could do it, what does that say about you?
So it's a simpleton's game compared to other current fighters. I would argue Tekken, Street Fighter, Arc Sys games, they're all more complicated than Mortal Kombat 1.
Being more complicated and having more mechanics does not inherently make any of those games better than a simpler fighter.
Mortal Kombat 1 is so simple that when you've been playing other fighting games, you get bored. And that's essentially what happened to me yesterday, okay?
That's not what happened to you yesterday, you little liar. Shut up. It was low support, and you were getting decimated online. You were embarrassed. You felt bad. So you don't want to play the game anymore.
I started playing with Sindel. And at first, I'm getting trounced. Because every person doesn't really understand fighting game mechanics, but they know how to spam, so they're spamming low attack, high attack, and then getting a combo after when I don't block correctly, okay?
But what does it mean to not understand how to play a fighting game correctly? They won the match. They beat you. That's the only objective, to win. If you beat your opponent, you played the game correctly. He's always got these weird stipulations about what makes someone understand how to play a fighting game or makes them a better fighter than him or whatever. Like, the simple rule is if they beat you, they're better than you, at least in this instance. They don't need you to justify their gameplay because you're a nobody. And not only are you a nobody, you're a nobody that they already beat. Why would they take criticism from you to tell them that they don't know how to play the game despite them just beating you? Again, if they don't know how to play the game and they beat you, then what does that say about you?
After a couple matches, you know, I get pretty used to it. All right, well, I'm going to adapt to that. And so I did, and I stopped getting hit by that. And I started doing a few other tactics, like keeping them away with Sindel, and a couple, like 2-in-1 combos to get them away. And every once in a while, I get lucky, and I get a juggle, and then I get my own combo.
When he says that he was keeping them away with Sindel, it means that he was spamming projectile. Because it's zoning when he does it, but it's projectile spam when anybody else does it, obviously.
So yesterday, I won about as much as I lost. In fact, the person who tracks my Street Fighter 6 statistics did track, and I think they said I won like 20-some matches and I lost like 30. When it's Street Fighter 6 stats, he's got the numbers right there on his phone that he's willing to give you. But when it's MK1, a game that he's literally quitting right now, he wants to give you roundabout guesstimate numbers. So it was very close. It was negative because those people were dominating me at first, but it was very close. It was like 46%, 47% win-loss ratio, okay? Keep in mind, that's with me playing Sindel for the first time, not knowing what I'm doing, and them throwing me to the wolves because the rank system is stupid and thinks I know what I'm doing because I already played ranked with Raiden and Havoc, which is dumb. It's the worst rank system. You can't do that. It should be per character. Again, if you're not confident with a character, don't play ranked. That's how it works, bud. Also, he's going to explain the same 3 talking points he's been explaining this entire time. Connections, speed of the game, and how many mechanics are in the game. So I'm going to speed him up. Don't worry, he's not actually going chipmunk mode in real life. He's going to be on 2x speed for our sake. So, basically, you know, by the end of the session, here's what I found, okay? Number one, this game is slow. It just is. The whole game is fucking slow. It feels like you're playing underwater. If you play Street Fighter 6 and you play Mortal Kombat 1, you're gonna be like, what's wrong with the game? There's nothing wrong with it. It's designed to play like that. Every single move and animation has 40,000 frames and takes so long to come out that it feels like you're slow, like something's happened. You're in slow motion, even though that's not really the case. That's the game, okay? Number two, the online connections are bad. Sorry. This connection level was acceptable 2-3 games ago. At this point in 2023, when your major contemporaries and competitors have improved their netcode to the point where their connections are twice as good as yours, that's awful. By the way, I don't drop in the middle of entire sets frequently in Street Fighter 6. I've done it every time I play Mortal Kombat 1 multiple times. So the netcode is trash. They had opportunity to improve, they didn't. It's the same netcode that you played in previous Mortal Kombat with no improvements. It just feels exactly the same as before, which is not good. You should be incrementally improving every game, not just doing the same. And then on top of that, like I said, there's just not enough gameplay elements in this game to keep my interest. I mean, in reality, try to go for a low attack or a high attack, mix them up, and then do a combo after, okay? Maybe every once in a while, catch them or lock them down with a cameo assist, all right? Every once in a while, you play a little bit of fundamentals. Instead of it just being high-low mix-up, you go for a one-off hit and then push them back. Like with Sindel, she has this hit with her hair, and then she can push them back with a meter burn fireball, and if it happens to get them to the corner, I get a free combo. So there's a few elements that are slightly different. But in reality, there's just not that much. It's almost every character will play exactly the same, because it's all the same idea. Get the one hit, lead to a giant combo, wash, rinse, repeat. They didn't try to innovate or improve. They literally made the game boring. So like I said, literally just repeated the entire thing all over. Okay? That's my opinion. Now, there's people out there who love Mortal Kombat, and maybe they love the game, and that's okay. I'm not going to say, hey, just because this is your style of game, it sucks or anything. I'm telling you, from my perspective, as someone who came out of retirement playing fighting games at a serious level and learned Street Fighter 6 and played it now for almost 4 months, Street Fighter 6 is like night and day different from Mortal Kombat 1. Yo, it's so cringe when he describes himself as coming out of retirement playing competitive fighting games. What an actual joke. It's so over dramatic. Like, he never actually won anything worth a shit when he was a competitive Street Fighter player. 4th at Evo doesn't get you anything. You've never won any major tournament. Even back when you were decent at Super Turbo, people called you the walking ATM because they would play you for money matches whenever they needed money because they knew they were gonna win. An absolute bum does not come out of retirement to go be a bum. There should be prestige with that, and you have no prestige. It's like watching the major leagues versus watching the minor league people trying to practice to get ready for the major leagues, right? I made this comparison last night. I said, imagine you go to a dance recital of a high-level professional ballet dancers, and they're doing these crazy elaborate moves, these pirouettes, artistic. You can tell these are artists. These people have been studying for decades to do what they do. And then next door they have a dance recital, and it's a bunch of 5-year-olds, and they're going, woo, 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 woo.
I'm kind of confused about this analogy, because I'm sure the professional ballet performers would look very nice and eloquent, and they might even have quite a few frames of animation, if you know what I'm saying. They probably would look a little slower, no? And he's the one that says Street Fighter's keeping his attention and is always so fast-paced, this, that, and the other. Well, that second example looked pretty fast-paced to me, and it looked just as hard to follow as Street Fighter 6 gameplay, because I don't know what any of those fucking meters do, or any of those variations and moves and meter burns or whatever. I know he's saying the exact opposite, but that just goes to show you that this is a terrible analogy and not nearly as good as mine from earlier. Big ups me.
That's what it feels like playing Mortal Kombat 1 after you've played Street Fighter 6. It's like, I feel like I've been so advanced past this level, and now I have to play this dumbed down crap because this is what they actually put out as a new game. It feels just like a waste.
You remember earlier when he said everyone who likes it is free to like it, and he's not going to shit on them for liking whatever games they like, it's just not for him. But now the game is completely dumbed down crap, and it's a waste. Like, those two sentences don't really go hand in hand, huh? It's like saying that you're free to like whatever music you like, and I'm not going to judge you for it, it's just not for me, but your favorite artist is dog shit. It's that double speak again. Say one thing and then immediately counteract it in the next sentence.
It does. It feels like, man, here's an opportunity when your contemporary stepped up to the plate and said, we're going to improve our entire engine and we're going to make a product that's way better than anything we've ever done before. And then you said, well, let's just put out a game that's exactly the same as all the others we just put out, the last 3. No real effort. Just kind of shovel it out there.
And now he gets to decide how they felt when designing the game. Because he wasn't happy with the final product, he gets to say that they didn't care about the game when they made it, that they just shoveled it out, that they didn't put any real effort into it, that they didn't try. But heaven forbid you say that about him and his streams. Because I'll be honest with you, DSP streams move slow as molasses. There's not nearly enough going on. I get so bored. It's like he doesn't care about the product. He's just shoveling out the same shit that he's been shoveling out for the past 15 years. But his response now would be that it's curated content and it's not for you. Okay, DSP, then MK1 is curated content and it's not for you. Shut up. You don't get to critique it anymore. That's it. That's the end of the discussion.
By the way, did you notice there's 0 new characters in Mortal Kombat 1? 0. I want to emphasize that. Every character in Mortal Kombat 1 is a reused character from previous games. They didn't even put enough effort into it to design a new character yet. It was too hard.
There he goes again, deciding what the motive was behind not creating a brand new character. It couldn't possibly be because the game is a reboot of a whole franchise that has a billion different characters in it that they might as well just reuse and reintroduce, because plenty of people in the modern day haven't ever seen these characters before because they haven't been in games since like 2006? No, it's obviously because it was hard and they were lazy, duh. Have you noticed how DSP hasn't changed his crusty, dusty ass streams in years because it's too hard? All he has to do is think about a sentence and see if it applies to him before letting it come out of his mouth before he looks stupid.
And I even said when I was playing the game originally, I feel like what this game is, well, as 9, 10, and 11 were made to be an homage to people who played Mortal Kombat in the 90s. It was a reboot of the plot line to see the original scenario of the tournament be replayed in Outworld, and then have a new outcome that allowed these characters to grow and thrive and have families and kids and have a whole new generation of Mortal Kombat gameplay, which is kind of what people in the 90s always wanted and never got.
A lot of those plot points about characters growing and having kids in different generations, this, that, and the other, really fucking sucked in MKX and MK11. So I'm glad we got away from that. That was stupid. Also, who in the 90s was playing MK1 and was like, man, I would love if Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade had a stupid kid? I mean, actually, who was thinking that? That was something that somebody wanted?
Well, now, this game, Mortal Kombat 1, which has rebooted the story, seems like it's an homage to those who played the 2000s Mortal Kombat. These were 3D games that were only home console. There wasn't really competitive play for them. There wasn't a major tournament scene for them. There were no arcade machines for them. It was just you play at home, you mess around with your friends, you rip each other's spines out, you shove them up your assholes.
Why is it always got to be some sort of grotesque humor with this guy? I really don't understand that. I mean, he's talking about ripping your spine out and shoving it up each other's assholes. Today on his Level 1 podcast, and today's the 26th for your information, instead of saying that the detractors were leeches or parasites that, you know, cling to him for irrelevancy, he instantly says that they're hemorrhoids on his asshole. I've never heard anyone use that expression over the 2 examples that I gave. It must be part of that curated content.
and you have some gory fun, but they weren't meant to be serious fighting games. They were party games, all right? And they were very much seen that way until Mortal Kombat 9 rebooted the franchise along with the popularity of Street Fighter 4. So what they've done is they basically said, here's a fan service game. If you like the 2000s Mortal Kombat, you'll love it. Yeah, but what about all the rest of us in the fighting game community who are looking for something to compete with Street Fighter?
Then you can keep looking, because that's not the game that they wanted to make. Not every game is going to appeal to every demographic of person, and it really shouldn't. It's okay for games to only appeal to a certain demographic. You wouldn't play a Call of Duty game and then be like, where's my ultra-realistic military sim, Activision? That's an unrealistic expectation. And if they were moving into a more competitive direction for the last 3 Mortal Kombats, and they decided that they didn't want to do that anymore, that's well within their right to do that. They decided to make a game that they actually wanted to make. That should be applauded. They didn't follow the trend. They didn't do what everybody else was doing. They're giving you a different experience, a different game. That's what games should strive to do. They shouldn't try and copy each other all the time. That's not good.
Mortal Kombat 1 does not compete with Street Fighter at all. It doesn't even try. They put no effort into improving any of the things Street Fighter 6 improved. They just left it as is and acted like this is just fine because this is what we've always done. Wrong. In the fighting game community, when your contemporaries have stepped it up, you must also step it up if you want to hang. They didn't try. They just said, just more of the same. But what about all these reports about Street Fighters doing all these different things? I don't care. Just put out the same fucking game again. Cameos are so cool, bro. Spell it with a K, and no one will notice that it's an element that's been in fighting games for 25 years, right? Okay.
He always acts as if Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat are direct competitors. But despite both of them being a fighting game, I don't really think they're in direct competition. They have different audiences, they attract different people, and again, that's totally fine. I don't think Mortal Kombat was going to lose any of their sales because Street Fighter 6 was just such a good competitive fighter. And I think it's vice versa true for Street Fighter 6. I don't think anyone who was looking forward to playing Street Fighter 6 was gonna not buy Street Fighter 6 because they were worried that Mortal Kombat was going to be a better competitive fighter. These franchises have different audiences. Mortal Kombat players like that casual fun, that goriness, those party game modes. That's what they enjoy, or at least that's what I've always enjoyed about Mortal Kombat. It's always been goofy. It's always been kind of insane. I don't even play the games online. I just play the single player stuff and I do my fights that I want to do. Like, that's how I play the game. So you telling me that it's not a good competitive fighter online and it's not stacking up to Street Fighter 6 competitively, I don't care.
And that's what the game is. Okay? So after having played yesterday, all right, I was very disappointed. Like 2 hours in, and this is, by the way, it wasn't just my opinion. I was playing, and as I was playing, I was asking my audience, what do you think? And the people who were there live yesterday, essentially their opinion was very similar. They're like, wow, this is really what the game is? Like, yeah, this is the whole game. Everyone hits you once for 50% damage or more, and then you have to guess how to block and get lucky and hit them back and do your combo, and that's it. That's the whole fucking game. And they were like, wow, this just doesn't look very good. Plus, a lot of people were like, dude, it's just so slow compared to Street Fighter. It just looks like you're playing in molasses. Yeah, it feels like it too.
The game looked really slow when you were playing it because you were unable to do any combos, bro. I can't tell you how many times I watched you whiff a 1-2 combo. How many times I seen you stand there as someone spammed projectiles instead of you actually trying to attack the other person. I mean, even in that clip that I showed you earlier, the follow-up combo was because he decided to stand up and block instead of doing anything else at all. It's difficult to be fast when you're standing still blocking.
So, basically, what happened was 2 hours in, people started saying, hey, could you stop playing this game and play Street Fighter 6? I was like, what? I was literally like, what? They're like, yeah, you know, could you stop playing Mortal Kombat 1 and go back to playing Lily in Street Fighter 6? We'd really like to see a Hitmaster with Lily. And I was like, maybe I would like to. And I was like, wait a minute. No. I promised everyone today I'm playing Mortal Kombat 1. At the very least, I got to live up to my promises, right? I have to. I can't just lie to everyone and say just because this kind of sucks I'm gonna switch. So I did. I played the whole 3 hours with Sindel. We got a whole stream in, all right, and the video, you could watch the footage right now if you want. It's live on the channel. And by the way, I'm not constantly slamming the game as I play it either. I win matches. But here's the sad part. Even the matches that I won, that I outplayed the opponent. There was a match against the Katana. At first she was kicking my ass, then I learned her strategy, outplayed her, and won the set. I didn't have fun.
Notice that he said he wasn't always slamming the game because he won, making it very obvious that every single time he wasn't winning, he was slamming the game, which obviously wasn't a very good experience given that he lost more than half of his matches. So it really shouldn't be a shocker when his audience asked him to play something else because he spent more than 50% of the time bitching, moaning, and complaining. I mean, it was a 3-hour stream and he spent over an hour and a half just complaining and saying the game was bad. And then he goes on to say that even the matches that he won, he still didn't have fun. Well, guess what he did did after those matches that he won? He bitched some more. So he spent 3 hours bitching after just about every single match about how he wasn't having fun, it wasn't enjoyable, and pointing at all the flaws that he thought existed in the game. Man, I can't imagine why they asked you to play a different game.
I was actually quite bored because, again, it takes 1/3 of the amount of thought to play Mortal Kombat 1 as it does to play Street Fighter 6. I'm barely even really caring or thinking about what I'm doing. It's just meh. See, again, like I say, I hate to say it, it feels like a simpleton's game when you've played something much more advanced.
I just want to point out that he wants to talk about how the mechanics are so simple and it's a simpleton's game, it's way dumbed down, right? But this is coming from the same man who got upset and aggravated and acted like a big baby during Starfield because he didn't understand the inventory system. And then went to cry for 30 minutes because he didn't understand the shipbuilding mechanics. And all he had to really do was look at the menu and navigate them a little bit to grasp the concept. I mean, he's notorious for saying the line, "The game didn't tell me, dude, how was I supposed to know?" But when game mechanics are actually simple enough that he understands them, oh, they're too simple. He's bored. It's not keeping him engaged. Again, you just can't win with this guy. It's always negative. There's no pleasing him.
And that's my opinion, and other people will disagree. And there's tons of people in a competitive Mortal Kombat community who will love this game or whatever, and more power to them. Let them love what they love. I'm not going to say you're not allowed to like this game. What I'm saying is, from my perspective as someone who stayed out of competitive fighting games for almost a decade, I just got back in with Street Fighter 6, and then I played Mortal Kombat 1. It's like, whoa. Why do I want to play the This would be like, again, you go to a gourmet restaurant and you're offered an insanely good gourmet burger. It's dripping with truffle oil and all these amazing things. Wow. Or you can go next door and you can buy a Big Mac. It's like, and I can have either. Which would I have? The gourmet with the Wagyu beef and the truffle oil, or would I go next door and eat the Big Mac? I think I know what I'm going to eat. And it ain't the fucking Big Mac, right?
I mean, just like these video games, DSP, there's a time and place for a Big Mac and there's a time and place for a gourmet burger. If you asked me immediately after work what I'd like to eat, I'd rather have the Big Mac because I can get it on the way home, I can eat it really quickly, and I can go and take my shower and do everything I need to do. It's just more convenient. But if you ask me on a Saturday night where I'd rather go for dinner, I'd rather go get the gourmet burger than stop at a McDonald's. So if you want to play competitively, you can play Street Fighter 6, but if you want to have a fun, casual party mode kind of time, you could play Mortal Kombat. It really is that simple. They're not direct competitors. That's what I keep trying to say.
So, that's my opinion after having played it. Now, herein lies the problem. I spent $120 on fucking Mortal Kombat 1.
And you have no one to blame for that but you, DSP. You knew before you even bought it that you didn't like the beta and that you thought the connections were bad, but you still bought the Ultimate Special Edition, so you got no one to blame but yourself. You even went out of your way to get a refund of the normal edition to get the Ultimate Edition.
Is a couple, like this Ermac, who's the other character? It's the other version, Takeda. I think it's Ermac, Takeda, Omni-Man, and fucking what's his name from The Boys? I can't remember his name at this point.
He makes it sound like they forced him to spend the extra $40 to get that edition. They didn't. It was optional. Again, he has no one to blame but himself. He took that gamble and he lost. He doesn't enjoy the game. That's not their fault. It wasn't made for him. I just can't stand the way he frames it like they robbed him or something. Like they forced him to do it. They didn't. He did it because he wanted those day one views. He thought by getting it early that he was going to be competitively viable. I mean, nowhere in the description for the Ultimate Edition did they say that he was guaranteed good day one views or to be good at the game online.
And, you know, I'll be honest, when they announced that pack, right, I was like, this is stupid. I'll be honest, I was like, wow, this is dumb. First of all, Omni-Man and Homelander, that's his character, are basically Superman knockoffs. They're supposed to be like dark versions of Superman from alternate dimensions that are very different than the personality type and morals of Superman, but they have his powers. They're exactly the same character, except they're from two different plot lines. Why are there two of the same fucking character? So right off the bat, I was like, this is a stupid DLC pack.
I'm sure that they'll play very differently, so it's not like they're going to be the exact same character. He's harped on this before. He's just being toxic to be toxic. It doesn't matter.
Ermac was already in the previous Mortal Kombat games. Takeda was already in the previous Mortal Kombat games. Why are they not in the base game?
And this is just a brain dead take, because they didn't make the cut, bro. Not every character that's been in previous Mortal Kombats is gonna make the cut and should just be in the base game. Would you say that about Street Fighter 6? If Street Fighter added a Dudley DLC, this dude would be the first guy to own it. He would be so pumped. He's like, oh my god, guys, they brought back Dudley. I love Dudley from the old Street Fighter games. Oh my god. Like, yeah, when an old character doesn't make the cut, people want to see them brought back anyway. They release it as a DLC. That's just how modern games work. If you don't like it, don't support it. Don't buy the game. Don't buy the DLC. But you're a little consumer and you'll buy anything a AAA studio throws at you. Because all you care about is that name recognition so that you can get some views so people will come to your stream.
So, this whole expansion pack doesn't even make sense to begin with, right? It's almost like you want to play it for curiosity's sake to see why are Omni-Man and Homelander both in it when they're the same fucking character. You know what I mean? So, and the thing is, I own it. I literally own this pack. But I've only played one major stream of Mortal Kombat 1, and I'm bored. And I really can't even stomach it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have fun.
And that's okay. No one is saying that you have to enjoy the game. It'd be nice if you didn't shit all over it just because you didn't enjoy it, though. I don't think that's particularly cool. And I definitely wouldn't be making this video if you responded a lot better to not enjoying the game. I mean, honestly, if you would have got on stream and said, hey guys, we played the session yesterday and I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't have fun with it. The game doesn't feel how I would like it to feel. Here's the reasons why. I think the connections are bad. I don't think that the characters move how they should. I have a much better time playing Street Fighter 6, so I'm going to continue to do that. I think those will be better streams for you guys, and we're just gonna not do Mortal Kombat 1. I apologize. I would not be making this video at all. That is not something I'm gonna make a video on. But because you can't help yourself but cry and whine about every single thing in your life, like, of course everyone is gonna give you shit for it. Of course it's gonna be a problem that you're quitting the game.
I played an entire stream yesterday. I got lots of wins. I didn't care. At the end of the stream, I was like, I'd much rather would have been playing something else, whether it would be Lies of P or more Street Fighter 6 or whatever. I would have had way more enjoyment playing any other game. Okay? So here's the deal. All right, I'm very sad because I liked Mortal Kombat over the last 3 games. 9, 10, and 11, I thought, were a great way to get back into Mortal Kombat and take it more seriously. You have to understand, Mortal Kombat was not taken seriously during the 2000s. It sold well as a party game, but it wasn't until Mortal Kombat 9 where it went back into competitive circles.
And he just keeps repeating himself. We get it. It was seen as a party game. It wasn't taken seriously by the FGC. Like, we give a shit. Either have fun playing the game or don't. Don't sit here and waste my time.
Okay? And here's the thing. The last decade, okay, essentially, I have not played competitive fighting games. What did I play? Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo in any version that was available online, which always was laggy and terrible, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and a couple other games, right, that were in those collections. But I never played a modern Street Fighter. Why? Because Street Fighter 5 sucked. Sorry, it just did. And I said since day one when that game came out, I hated it, okay? So I've been out of the loop. And I would casually play fighting games. I would buy the new Mortal Kombat, buy the new Injustice, buy the new Tekken, or whatever it may be, and I would play it for a while. And I would learn a few characters or whatever, basics online. And then after a week or two of playing it, I get bored and I'm like, all right, we move on.
That's great. That's fine. No one is complaining about that. If you don't enjoy a game, quit playing a game. If you enjoy a game for a week or two and you have fun doing your basics or whatever, awesome. And I'm going to double times this next bit again, just because he's going to suck off Street Fighter some more and I'm tired of hearing it. And it's just him saying that he feels better playing Street Fighter 6. Like, we get it, bro.
But that's always how it's been, because Street Fighter's my forte, not those games. Now that Street Fighter 6 is out, and I'm loving it, and I'm playing at a level where I can get characters to master, and we're doing good and everything, that's kind of like where I feel my roots are always going to be in. You know what I'm saying? Like, always, I'm going to feel like that's where I'm at home. And especially now that I get the gameplay elements of the game and I'm enjoying it, like Aki is coming out in a few days, that's the next DLC character for Street Fighter 6, and I can't wait to try her. I'm not saying I'm going to like her, I'm saying just to try her out and learn her abilities or whatever. That's fun to me, because I know the gameplay elements or whatever. And like I said, I feel more at home. Even as complex as it is, I'll feel more at home learning a new character in that game or whatever. I don't know. Now, so, with Mortal Kombat 1, the tough part for me is saying, man, I think I should just not play it again, because I spent a lot of money on it.
And I haven't mentioned this yet, but he also used MK1 as a huge reason why he needed to buy a 400 fight stick and buy Street Fighter 6 for a second time. Because despite having the game on Xbox One, he wanted to play all of his fighting games on the PS5 exclusively, and he didn't have a stick that worked on the PS5, and he had bought Street Fighter 6 on the Xbox One. So not only did he spend $100 on MK1 knowing that he wasn't gonna like it, but he also spent $400 on a fight stick and an additional $70 to rebuy Street Fighter 6. So he basically spent $570 for no reason. It's really no question why he doesn't have any money. Between his WWE Champions addiction and his frivolous spending, it's pretty obvious.
And I know there were people in my audience who were anticipating the game. I know that for a fact. And after yesterday's stream, I think a lot of those people watched and were like, oh God, this is really bad compared to what Phil's been doing. So it's kind of like we all collectively looked yesterday and we're like, wow, what a disappointment. This game is meant just for hardcore fans of Mortal Kombat. It's no improvements. They didn't even try. There's no effort here. Wow. That's so sad. And you know, I was talking about this yesterday, and I think a lot of people didn't even realize this. Did you know that outside of the United States and Europe, Mortal Kombat is not really accepted as a good fighting game? In Asia, they don't even play it. They ignore it like it doesn't exist.
What relevancy does this actually have to anything? Hey, did you guys know that American football isn't played very much outside of America, therefore it's bad? You see how when you apply that same logic to things, it just doesn't work? It doesn't make any sense. Yes, some cultures and countries don't find enjoyment the same exact way you do. They don't enjoy the gore and the spectacle that is a Mortal Kombat game. And that's not a bad thing. I just fail to see how it's relevant to anything at all.
Seriously. No one plays it competitively. No one has it at tournaments. It's just a joke to them. They laugh at it. They think it's a funny thing that's, oh, gore in a fighting game. Ha, ha, ha. They don't take it seriously at all. It's only here in English-speaking countries where people like Mortal Kombat and play it. That's why, historically, okay?
I'm gonna stop him right here and tell you he's just gonna talk about how it's not competitively viable. It's not big in the FGC, this, that, and the other for the 100th time in a row. I'm gonna put it on 3 times speed. I don't want to hear this no more.
With Mortal Kombat, the competitive circle only lasts about a year. Every single time in Mortal Kombat or Injustice, any other realm game. Whenever another realm fighter comes out, you get the initial hype, so it lasts a couple of months, people talk about the story and the new, and then so Street Fighter come out, talk about that. But within about a year of any new realm game coming out, the game just disappears. No one talks about it, no one plays in competitive circle, it vanishes. And that's always part of the course of realm games. While Street Fighter, Tekken, Arc Sys, even Smash Brothers, those games persist on in competitive nature. Mortal Kombat just sizzles off and fades away. It's just a fact. It's not me just, oh, I like Mortal Kombat, I'm saying that. It's historically documented, it happens every time. That's what happens when you have a game that's not even accepted worldwide as a competitive game. So, for me, in the last decade, I felt Mortal Kombat was a great surrogate for fighting games. When Street Fighter sucked ass with Street Fighter V, it was great to be able to play something. And it was great that they were alternating between Mortal Kombat and Injustice, so you had various different kinds of gameplay that were a little different, right? But now I hate to say it, now that Street Fighter is back, I kind of feel like they picked up the mantle of this is what a competitive fighter should be and made Mortal Kombat look like shit.
And as someone who's never enjoyed a Street Fighter game, I think Street Fighter is not enjoyable to watch. It doesn't look enjoyable to play. It has too many goddamn mechanics in it. It doesn't look fun. It's not even a good party game to play with your mates. There isn't a spectacle either. The single player content looks generic. I don't particularly care for the art style. All of these things can be levied at the game, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If you don't enjoy the game, quit talking about the game, move on. This is a whole podcast. You have other things to talk about, or should.
It almost seems to me like the days of Mortal Kombat getting, you know, its time in the sun are done. They need to really step it up and improve if they hope to get any kind of traction in the fighting game community. And right now, what you'll see is for the next several weeks, everyone will be talking about Mortal Kombat, and the reason is because it's hype. It's the new game. All the stream monsters, right? Oh, we got to stream it. We got to talk about it. We got to cover it and put out a bunch of fucking videos about it to get our clickbait views because the game is hot and new.
And if that's how they make money for their business, bro, why are you hating? Why don't you do something that makes money for your business? Or do you think that this makes money for your business, sitting here on this stupid podcast and bitching about Mortal Kombat 1 for 40 minutes straight, like anyone wants to pay you to see that? So concerned about everybody else's bag but your own. Probably just upset that they also bought the $100 version of the game, except they made their fucking money back.
But within a few months, likely it's going to be exactly the same as what's always happened. That'll die out, but you'll still hear stuff about Street Fighter. And Tekken is on the way. When Tekken 8 comes out in January, that'll be the new hotness that everyone will be talking about. And Mortal Kombat will very quietly, swept under the rug, just like it always does, and kind of fade away until maybe a DLC character comes out. Then you'll hear about Homelander for one day as everyone plays him and says, wow, he's stupid. And then that's it. And, you know, that's what always happens with these games. So, Mortal Kombat 1. After having played through the story and not liking the ending of the story, after having played Invasion and liking Invasion, but you guys don't like it, right? And then playing the online play and realizing I really don't like it because it's just so inferior to everything Street Fighter 6 has to offer, I think it's time to say goodbye to Mortal Kombat, and we've only played it for about a week.
Awesome. Thank God. We never have to talk about the game again, right?
That's sad. That pisses me off that I spent all that extra money on this game, more than I normally even would for a fighting game. I feel like I got burned. You know what I mean?
And that's the only reason he even really cares about the game at all, is because he spent way more money than he should have to just not play the game. And yeah, that sucks, but that's the gamble you take when you spend a bunch of extra money to play a game you don't even know if you're gonna like. When in reality, he actually knew he wasn't gonna like the game because he played the beta and didn't enjoy it. So it was kind of a stupid move all around.
Like, here's the thing. with Street Fighter 6, all right, I spent extra money to get the deluxe edition, right? And I did feel burned because I felt like some of the stuff in there, I'm not, like those credit tickets or whatever, you don't use them for anything. And it's like, wow, you kind of get burned there, you didn't get anything for it. But I got the season pass, I'm going to get all the DLC characters and all of that. I mean, I got so much content and traction and fun out of Street Fighter 6, I went ahead and rebought it for another console, right?
That's such a weird flex when you're on stream begging for dollar tips every day. Yeah, guys, I like this game so much that I spent your money twice on it.
With Mortal Kombat 1, I don't even feel like I got enough out of the game to warrant the regular purchase, and I spent deluxe money on it. Dabhands just said in the chat, you should have trusted your instincts from the beta. Mortal Kombat just wasn't the way. I mean, you're right. When I played the beta, if you remember, I was like, dude, it just doesn't feel right. The game is slow. The fucking connections are shit. How is this going to hang with Street Fighter 6? Even Street Fighter 6's beta was dramatically better than the Mortal Kombat 1 beta. And everyone told me at that time, oh, you're judging unfairly. This is just the beta. It's not the final game. I was like, dude, it's a month until the final game comes out. What do you think they're going to do? Rewrite the fucking netcode from top to bottom and then recode the whole game too? You know what I mean?
I mean, you had all of these thoughts and you still went against your own judgment? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't imagine how enticing those day one views must be to go against your own intuition when you feel that strongly about it.
So, yeah, I feel, honestly, like I've kind of been ripped off and like I made a bad decision. And you know what? I'll man up here. It's on me because the way I saw it was if we can get the story content out of the way right away, we could focus more on multiplayer. And I knew that Lies of P was coming out, and I knew people were going to want to see me play that. I was dying to see what that game was.
Yeah, he wanted to see what Lies of P was so bad that he refused to play the demo when it came out. And in the summer, when people asked him if he was going to play Lies of P, he constantly shit on it and shut it down, saying that it was just going to be just another Soulsborne ripoff. But now that it made him some money, he's in love with it. It's the best thing that's ever happened to him.
And so I wanted to kind of clear the schedule out, get through the single player first, and then I thought, oh, we'll alternate Lies of P and Mortal Kombat on day streams, and then Starfield and Street Fighter 6 on night streams for like 2 weeks. And then finally, as new content started to come out in October, we could start to reduce the amount of time that I play, say maybe multiplayer Mortal Kombat, and by then I'd probably be getting near the end of Lies of P. But I guess, you know, I just too much depended on the game being good and worth your time. It's just sad to me that as I'm playing Mortal Kombat 1, I have my audience actually saying, can you stop playing Mortal Kombat 1 and go play Street Fighter 6 instead? And I was like, wow.
Yes, wow, you made the game so unenjoyable to watch that they asked you to actually play something else because it would be a benefit to them. Crazy. There are streamers who can keep their audience entertained while playing Desert Bus, but DSP is playing the newest Mortal Kombat game with the flashiest graphics and all of that and still can't keep his audience entertained.
You gotta understand something. People were getting bored of Street Fighter 6. They were dying for Mortal Kombat 1. They couldn't wait. And now that I play the game, they're like, never mind. We actually take that back. Now that we've seen Mortal Kombat 1, everyone's bad here. You know, it's not your fault. It's not our fault because we didn't know. But man, just go back and play Street Fighter 6 because that is so bad. Like, wow. You know, we all got fooled thinking that they were going to do better and they didn't.
But that's where I'm going to leave this video, finally. Again, I apologize for how long this was. I did not expect it to be nearly this long when I started. Again, thank all you guys for all of the subscriptions and the comments and all the views and the likes that you guys have given a couple of my videos. I really do appreciate it. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying the content and I get to interact with you. That's my favorite part of the whole DSP thing, is interacting with the community. You guys are awesome. I'm always in people's chats and leaving comments on their videos. I'm a big fan of being here. Hour-long videos will not become my normal, I promise. This was an irregularity. But if you made it this far, make sure that you check out other detractor channels that dive deeper into that Snortex.